Hello, Yinsters! It's that time again. Welcome to another episode of the Yinning at Life podcast with your host, Kimberly Roberts of Soulful Yin. And I'm here to dish out all things about traditional Chinese medicine, yin yoga, acupressure, reflexology, and of course, mindset shifting. So welcome to today's episode. Is your liver fucked? Yeah, is it? How do you know? Well, that's what I want to talk about in today's episode. So get cozy, maybe grab yourself a latte, or even better, a nice warm glass of water, with a little bit of lemon splashed into it, because we all know that's good for the liver. And let's dive in. So how do you know if your liver is fucked? Well, I can tell you, probably most people will think, well, I drink a lot, maybe I smoke a lot, maybe I do a lot of like pharmaceutical drugs or, hardcore stuff like, fentanyl or coke or even good old marijuana. But, of course, those are like serious things that harm your liver, right? But there's a lot of other things that can create liver dysfunction and damage that maybe you don't even know about. So I'll tell you that years and years and years ago, I was huge on wearing perfume. And we're talking about the toxic crap, right? Like, and no offense to Calvin Klein, but I used to wear Calvin Klein perfume like every day at the office. And we all know that spraying that stuff on your skin, guess what happens? As it's absorbed through your skin, your liver has to process it because your liver processes everything. It's not just what you put into your body, but it's also what you put onto your body. And back then, hell, I didn't know. I was just like, I just want to smell nice. And then let's talk about all the makeup, because back then, again, a lot of our makeup had lead in it and God knows what other like crappy sulfates and parabens and who knows what was added into our makeup. And we just slathered all that shit on our face because guess what? We wanted to look good. And guess what? I did too. So those were kind of some ways way back when that I was like, I had no idea. And now, cosmetic companies have really cleaned up things. And, perfumes have really changed and evolved. And so there's a lot more awareness around that. And people are definitely, attuned to that. But let's talk about some of the other ways that your liver could be fucked that you might not know about. A really big one, your thoughts. So in Chinese medicine, it's not just about the function, the anatomical function of an organ that's important, but it's also like the mental, emotional, and energetic properties of an organ that are important. Because in Chinese medicine, everything is connected, right? So your thoughts produce feelings, and the feelings produce emotions. And your liver is kind of like the master hub of all your emotions. Even though each organ has a primary emotion that it's, associated with where that emotion is stored, the liver still has to process it all. Kind of like if you think about it, anything that you put on or in your body has to be filtered through your liver, right? Like everything goes through the liver. So it's the same thing with your thoughts. So you might not necessarily be having thoughts of anger or frustration or irritation, which are kind of like the primary emotions that the liver is responsible for. But you could be having other emotions coming up, like a lot of grief, or a lot of sadness, or a lot of worry, or a lot of fear. And while those will all tax certain emotions in the organs, the liver still has to deal with it all. Like just talking about it is exhausting, right? And it affects your liver. So if I'm like worried all the time or I'm scared all the time, sure, I'm going to tax the energy in like my spleen or my kidneys, but my liver is going to take a load, is going to take a hit on that as well. So some of the symptoms, because you might be now wondering like, well, maybe I have been like really angry, or maybe I have been like really worried or scared or whatever for a long period of time, and I haven't really been dealing with it. So how do I know if it's affecting my liver, right? Like if I'm not having any symptoms. But here's the thing. You probably are having symptoms. You just don't know that they're potentially associated with your liver. So let's talk about some of them. And I'm not saying that this is an exclusive list, nor am I trying to diagnose or provide any medical advice, but I'm just going from my own expertise, my own knowledge in traditional Chinese medicine, and my own like experience in my own body. So if you're not aware, because maybe you haven't listened to previous episodes from season 1, in August of 2022, I was diagnosed with 6 liver cysts. Yeah. And I'll tell you, I didn't even know I had a problem in that organ. I was actually getting an ultrasound because I knew I had something growing in my uterus that wasn't supposed to be there. And it wasn't a baby, people. It wasn't a baby. It was a big fat fibroid. And so my doctor willingly decided, well, you know what? Since we're going to do an ultrasound for your uterus, we might as well just scan everything else. And I said to him, I laugh about it now, but I said to him back then, really? Like, don't waste your time on that, because it's really just my uterus that I'm concerned about. He's like, well, you know what? You're going to be there, so let's just do the whole gamut. I'm like, okay, whatever, but you're not going to find anything. Well, I didn't think they would find anything because I didn't think that some of the symptoms that I was having was necessarily completely associated with liver dysfunction. So when he told me that I had 6 liver cysts, I was like, what the fuck? I'm like, are you serious? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, damn. I'm like, but I'm not even like feeling any pain or discomfort. There's no swelling. There's like nothing happening there. But then I got home after the initial shock of finding out that I had a 12 centimeter fibroid in my uterus. I mean, I knew there was something in there, but I just didn't know it was that big. But anyways, non-life threatening, so all good. But when I got home and I started thinking about the liver thing, because it was like, I'm like, I don't drink alcohol. I don't do drugs. I don't even do like Tylenol or Advil. Like, I mean, I did years and years and years ago. Like I would pop Tylenol, like I would pop a jujube, right? When I had menstrual cramps or back pain or a really bad headache or a migraine. But I mean, I haven't taken, like, I don't even have a bottle of Tylenol or Advil in my condo. I haven't even had that stuff in my body in like over 10, maybe even 12 years now. So I was like, I was like, don't drink. I don't do pharmaceutical drugs. I'm not on any prescriptions. I don't do cocaine or fentanyl or whatever else. I'm like, so what's going on? Like, why do I have all this stuff happening with my liver? And I ended up doing a yin practice that afternoon. And I was doing one for the liver meridian. Duh, like, didn't that make sense after what I got as a diagnosis? Well, kinda. And I was like, wait a minute, Kim. Like, hello? Light bulb moment, which you already knew about, but you kind of forgot about for a hot second, was like, anger. You certainly have had a lot of that. And I was like, yeah. And it wasn't anger, like recent anger, but it was like built up, bent up anger, frustration, irritation, resentment, even sometimes rage of living with an abusive alcoholic who, by the way, his liver was not happy, but that was because he drank too much. So I realized that my experiences with him compounded in my own body because I wasn't processing and releasing the anger. Yeah. I was just shoving it down. I was literally just shoving and suppressing the anger, like most people do. Because I'll be honest with you, a lot of the emotions we'll express like, oh, you know what, I'm really worried, or I'm really scared, or you know what, I'm sad, I'm grieving. But anger is one of those emotions where we're often told, don't express that. Don't express it in public. Don't express it to somebody else. Don't take it out on somebody else. And it's true. And I was like, how many of you, when you're angry, go out into your car and scream where there's no one around you, or go into a forest and scream, or grab a pillow and beat the crap out of it, right? Or scream into it. Like, a lot of us don't do that. So a lot of us will do one of two things. We'll either suppress it, the anger, or we'll take it out on somebody else. Because honestly, a lot of us, it's a lot easier to just take it out on someone else than it is to accept the fact that you're angry about something, try and figure out, well, why are you angry? And then process and release. Because that's what our emotions are meant to do. And we're meant to experience emotions. So even like anger, we're meant to express anger. We're meant to feel it. We're meant to experience it. But we're also meant to let it go. Because in Chinese medicine, our emotions are supposed to move through us. And they're just indicators. I say this all the time. Emotions are just indicators of where we are at. What is our vibration like? What kind of energy are we putting out? Are we putting out an energy of anger? Maybe. But why? And you see, most of us don't stop to ask that question. Why am I angry? When we're grieving, it's pretty obvious. Why am I grieving? Well, I don't know, maybe because I just lost someone or lost something that was really important to me. Why am I scared? Well, maybe I'm scared because I'm working for a company right now and they're laying off a bunch of people and I'm scared that I'm going to be the next one in line. Maybe I'm worried. I'm worried about being able to take care of my family. What happens if I get sick? How would I be able to take care of them? Sometimes we're sad because we experience something in our life or we see something where it's like, yeah, that kind of hurt my heart. So we often feel justified with the other emotions, but with anger, it's almost like, oh, you're angry. Oh, no, don't be angry. Okay, just shove that sucker back down. And where do you think it gets shoved back down to? Your liver. And so the more you keep shoving it all down, it's like you're shoving clothing into a suitcase. I say this all the time because people really resonate with this. So it's like you keep putting stuff into the suitcase and then you close the suitcase. And eventually what happens is you keep putting more stuff in it and eventually the suitcase is so fucking full that you can't even close it anymore. And it literally just explodes. Well, that's what happens with your liver. So you'll start to experience things like an increase of maybe headaches or migraines if you're someone who suffers from them. Seasonal allergies will escalate. Skin eruptions, you're like, what? I'm not 12 anymore. Why have I got acne all over my face? Or just your skin's really dull, dry. Sleep disruptions, especially between 1 and 3 a.m., which is liver meridian time in Chinese medicine. problems with weight loss. Like you just can't seem to, shed those whatever 5-10 pounds that you want to get rid of. Hormonal stuff, like an increase in hot flashes, night sweats, right? So those are kind of like some of the physical. And then mentally, like we just get so wound up, tense, anxious. Like the liver organ system loves the chill, calm vibes. That's what it likes. It's like, oh yeah, she's chill right now. Cool. So am I. But when we're super stressed and super anxious, our liver is like, oh man, I gotta try and calm her down. Fuck. I'm exhausted trying to do this. This is what the liver is saying, right? And it's telling you this. And then emotionally, when we're frustrated and irritated or we're angry, it just compounds and we get more of it. So it's not just the physical organ itself that gets weakened. It's mental, emotional, and energetic properties also suffer. That's why they say it's all connected, because it's not just the organ physically that gets damaged. It's everything else, the mind, the energy of the body, the nervous system. So if you're wondering like, is my liver fucked? Well, look at your own life. Look at how you are mentally. Are you constantly stressed out and anxious? Emotionally, are you always frustrated or irritated? Physically, what are you doing physically? Are you moving your body every day or doing something to stimulate it? Because I'll tell you that the liver likes movement. It's okay to be sedentary in terms of like meditation and yin yoga, because those are more contemplative and introspective practices, which your liver really does like, right? Because you know what those practices do? They calm you the fuck down, and your liver likes calm. But the liver also likes when you move. So when you're sitting there on your butt for 12 hours a day, staring in front of devices, that is not making your liver happy. It's stressing it out. And then if it feels stressed, you're stressed too. So one of the things that I love to do, and of course it depends on the weather, but as much as possible, I try and get out for a daily walk. Because being outside in nature is one of the best things that you can do for your liver. Like people literally underestimate the power of going for a walk. Now, I'm not stereotyping here, but if you look at the Asian culture, one of the biggest things that they are so known for is walking outside, because they know what it does. And while maybe you might not be getting a full-on sweat here, depending on how, slowly or quickly you're walking, it doesn't matter. It's just the fact that you were outside in nature. That's what matters. That's what's most important. And then get quiet sometimes. Even if it's 5 minutes a day, pause and breathe. Pause and breathe. Because it is so good for your liver. If you're like the constant hamster on a wheel, running round and around and around, not only are you exhausting your body and your mind, but you're also exhausting your energy, your chi that runs through you. And ultimately, that is going to have an impact on your liver, because everything that you do affects your liver. It's the organ of detoxification, not just physical detoxification, but also mental, and emotional. So do the things to clean up your liver if you feel like it's fucked. Take some time and pause every day. Move your body. And then get on your yoga mat and do some yin yoga for the liver meridian, and do some meditation and some breath work. Even if it's like one pose, 5 minutes, bang, you're done. I've got tons of short practices on my app, on the SolefulYin app, that are all for nourishing your organs from the traditional Chinese medicine perspective. So if that's something that you're like, wow, that's kind of cool, I'd love to practice in that way, then you can hop on over to my app. I will link it all up in the show notes, and you can take a peek and see what you think. But keep that liver of yours happy, because when you keep it happy physically, mentally, and emotionally, then overall, energetically, you are a much better human being. And ultimately, you'll be living that yinning at life vibe, day in and day out. Thanks so much for pressing play on today's episode. I look forward to seeing you in the next one, Yinster. Namaste.